is going to get an email from Power to Fly in about 4 to 5 business days. And that email is going to have a link to where you can rewatch this recording when we post it on powertofly.com. Now, if you are watching us elsewhere, like let's say you're watching us on YouTube, hi YouTube. The video is usually posted to our YouTube channel by end of business today. So let's just say you are incredibly eager to share this video with a friend or a coworker or a relative. You don't have to wait till you get that email from Power to Fly. You can send them a link that leads them back to YouTube. But I very, very much recommend that you do check out the Power to Fly website. I recommend that you take a look at all of our resources. They're entirely free, all free, all. We've got 6 years of recordings that are bingeable starting now. So please, please feel free to take advantage of all of those resources. But yeah, no matter where you're joining us from, if you are on YouTube or if you're up here on Zoom with us, we're very grateful that you spent time with us. So thank you so much for joining us today. Now, last but not least, as we are getting active into that group chat, I'll be there the entire time. So please, please feel free to dive in there and navigate, network with your fellow attendees. You're always welcome to chime in there. And we love, love, love that participation. So please feel free. We've got people chiming in from, let's see, India, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, North Carolina, Costa Rica. Oh, y'all, thank you. I love seeing how far the global audience spreads. Sorry, I was a Carmen Sandiego kid hard as a child. So anyway, all of this to say, today's event is going to be fabulous. If you've been to a Power to Fly event before, you kind of know what to expect. But even if you haven't, I'm really excited to let you know who we're going to talk to today. Now, before I introduce you to our fabulous team here, we are going to be talking to these wonderful people as part of their, they're here as part of Elastic. Now, Elastic is a search AI company, and they enable everyone to find the answers that they need in real time using all of their data at scale. They unleash the potential of businesses and people. Now, the Elastic Search AI platform is used by more than 50% of the Fortune 500 and brings together the precision of search and the intelligence of AI to enable everyone to accelerate their results that matter. Now, by taking advantage of all structured and structured data, securing and protecting private information more effectively, Elastic's complete cloud-based solutions for search, security, and observability help organizations to deliver on the promise of AI. Now, if you are curious at all about Elastic or anything that these lovely women say today really sparks your curiosity, I very much encourage you to take a look at Elastic's company page on powertofly.com. That's what's on the screen in front of you. The QR code that's at the bottom, that'll lead you to their company page on powertofly.com. And once you're on our website, the big important thing to see is this big pink follow button right there. It's going to be at the top of every company page. If you are actively job seeking, or even if you're just sort of a little bit interested in roles at Elastic, hang in here, stick around until the end of today's event. Last 5 minutes, I'll share some extra details with you, ways that this page can work for you and help you out in your job search, because we know finding a new job is very important, but it's not always the funnest thing in the world. So anything we can do to help you with that, we want to. Now, on behalf of Elastic, I'm very excited to introduce to you the 2 wonderful speakers they have sent us. Where'd my notes go? There we go. All right, so Madhura Chopda is joining us today. She is the Senior Director of Engineering. Now, Madhura currently works at Elastic as a Senior Director Engineering Lead in the Enterprise Security Analysis and Enterprise Security Analyst Experience Team. Now, Madhura just completed her 5-year anniversary. Congratulations! She leads a team of awesome engineers and leaders who are passionate about making an impact, building performance enterprise security software, and believes in open culture and collaboration. Now, Madhura started her engineering career working in access, provisioning, and identity management at Persistent Systems in Pune, India in 2004. Serendipity brought her to Silicon Valley in 2007, and that shaped her career into enterprise security further. Now, her work included numerous projects related to data collection, parsing, normalization, data storage monitoring, configure management, etc. And she's very, very passionate about working with people. Her source of energy and her support system is her family. They always make sure there is never a dull moment when she's at home. Madhura, welcome to the stage today. We're so happy to have you join us. Is there anything else you'd like our audience members to know about you?
This is great introduction. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us. Now, gracing the stage with Madhura, we have Alexandra Bellogini. Now, Alexandra is a senior support manager and is the with several years of experience in both support and development environments. Now, Alexandra has worked with many different customers, big and small, on many different technologies. And the heart of what she does is diversity. She's been an active member in the women's ERG in different companies and has led the Elastic ERG for the last 3 years. Alexandra, I'm so happy to have you on our stage as well. Is there anything else you feel our audience members should know about you today?
Nope, that was perfect. Thanks a lot. And I'm really happy to be here too.
Absolutely. Now, just as a quick peek to get people introduced this morning, we were talking about concerts we had been to. I'm a massive Spice Girls fan. So in the channel here, in the chat, go ahead and tell us what was the first concert that you ever went to. We were discussing, I think mine was Hootie and the Blowfish. So I'd really be eager to see where y'all have gone and what kind of musical influences have been in your life. Oh my gosh, Trisha went to see Tom Petty for your first concert. Yes. Oh, love, love, love it. Thank you, y'all. Thanks for sharing. All right. So as we go in, we're going to dive in on some questions. Now we've got a great list of questions here, but if y'all have questions, we want to make sure that we reward you for joining us here today. So please feel free to make sure that that we hear from you. But definitely feel free to add any questions at any point if you have them, or if you want us to dive in deeper on a particular topic, we would love to do so. All right, to get us started here, obviously the topic today is building inclusive remote teams. Would each of you like to tell us about what your team that you're on looks like now, and some of the ways that you feel like it really functions well as a remote team and while providing that inclusive environment? Alexandra, you want to go first?
Okay. So I've got a team that's based out of EMEA, so Europe. It is spread right across, going from, well, actually, I have to correct myself. It's not just spread across EMEA, it's actually spread in India as well. We have some India-based engineers who work our shift. And so we start off with them, the furthest east, and then we have engineers in Slovenia, engineers in France, engineers in Hungary, engineers in the UK, myself based out of Belgium. Um, and I'm just trying to check if there was anybody else. No, that's about there's some in Spain. There you go. Um, and so that is literally the spread of my engineers. In the support team, we actually have engineers covering the European shifts, or better, the European, Middle East, and Africa shifts, out of South Africa as well, Germany, somebody in Italy. Yeah, those are the extra countries that we have that are not actually represented directly on my team itself. How does it work well? Well, we've been bonding, we've been building trust, we've been building a lot of collaboration within the team that has really helped to bring them together to decide to be able to help each other out very, very much. They collaborate on a daily basis. And some are like between seniors and juniors, all collaborating together to find solutions to it for our customers. And that is really the baseline for me with making them work well together.
Yeah, absolutely. Madhura, I wanted to go to you for a lot of the questions in this area. What are some practical strategies that y'all use at Elastic that have helped to foster that inclusion, especially in remote teams? It can be very hard to foster, especially for people that have never even been in the same time zone, let alone in the same room.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Uh, I think inclusion is such a dear topic to me, anyways. Like Alexandra said, Elastic is inherently a distributed company, very much similar to her. My team is also distributed across the globe. Not maybe as many countries as she has team members in, but definitely across the globe. To me, I think inclusion is a very deliberate effort that every leader or every team member should be doing and on an ongoing basis. It's not once done and all done. So some of the practical things that I have done, at least within my teams, is, for example, if there are team meetings that are happening, and I know that there are people in EMEA from that particular team, then these team meetings do not have to happen in my time zone. They happen between the EMEA and US. By the way, I'm in Santa Clara, California, so I'm in the Pacific time zone. So they happen between the time zones, alternating. And if there are three time zones involved, then you or rotate between three time zones. Uh, all of this is great when there is synchronous communication happening, but a very integral part of inclusion is basically having those asynchronous communications and channel open at all times. So majority of the work that my team does, or we try to do at Elastic, is through these asynchronous tools such as Slack, or let's say a simple tool like Google Docs. And Slack is something we use it as our mode of communication, but it doesn't have to be an immediate reply. Like for example, if it is after hours for me, um, although flexible and although I'm available, at the same time, if I'm maybe walking my dog there and I see a Slack ping, it's not necessary for me to reply right away. Of course, if there is an escalation, that's a different story. But I'm kind of leading that by example, that when you have taken time off in your calendars, then respect that time yourself first, so the team members know that that is a serious time block that this person has. And we try to follow that very religiously in our team. If there is a block of calendar, then we make sure we respect that and not schedule meetings around it. Or if we have to, then we definitely record meetings. So that takes me to usage of technology, because we have so much technology available. We have Zoom recordings, we have transcripts, we have Chat GPT. So I use Chat GPT day to day, mainly because I'm having multiple conversations with multiple team members, and I probably have a little bit of global view at things. So I'm able to connect the dots. I myself don't have to summarize it now. I just ask ChatGPT that I have had 4 conversations, just summarize them all for me, and I get a good summary. And then all these hallway conversations, or what hallway in the sense, virtual hallways, water cooler conversations or meeting conversations, now that I have summarized those, and I send them on a distributed email list, which not only informs other team members, but make them feel included, a part of those conversations, even if they were not there. So they know that they are part of the decision making. Another very critical part for my that comes under inclusion is, I think, language barrier, not necessarily at a vocabulary level, but definitely at idioms. I myself am not a native English speaker, so there is a lot of processing that is happening in this brain when I'm either speaking or listening to English. There is a lot of translation that is happening. So of course, I am going to take a bit of pauses when I'm speaking, because to let that processing happen. So I definitely realize that respecting that pause is a very important thing in a meeting or in a conversation. If another person has taken a pause, that's not my opportunity to speak, but that's my opportunity to take a pause as well. So I'm able to listen to them. And these are some practical things that I follow day to day, and they have helped me tremendously. I mean, I'm sure as part of this, we're going to talk about more fun activities as well. So I'll leave my thoughts for the later chat for those.
No, I mean, I think you made like 47 amazing points in the span of like 12 sentences. Like truly, that I'm loving all of this. But you're right. I mean, it's one of those things where it's not a more difficult, it's not that it's any more difficult to have an inclusive team remotely than it is in-house. It's just a different sort of preparation. It's a different mindset that you sit in to look at the team. And I very much appreciate what you said about how, you try and, if there's a difference across time zones, you try and rotate time zones. The idioms thing, massive. Okay. If you come from a Western centric world like America, you do not realize until you take 2 steps outside that how much our language, and especially business speak, relies on idioms. We do sports idioms constantly. There's so many of them. So I mean, like, it seems like a small thing, but until you are in a situation where your entire team is not just native speakers, you will not realize it. And then once you realize it, you're like, oh, how did I not see this before? So it's kind of a nice thing once you kind of get to break down and realize, like, oh, those idioms, like the sports idioms that we use for everything, they might not be, let's say, less than effective for, people that are not from America, but they also might be less than effective for people who maybe didn't play sports. So I very much appreciate how when we start to unpack this and we start to look at inclusivity, we don't just, as we're trying to be inclusive of other people that are not currently in the room, you start to get more understanding of how much more inclusive you could be to more people, no matter where you're starting from on this journey. So I very much appreciate this angle here, Madhura.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, a lot of the prep work that goes into this kind of stuff has to be done on the front end. What are some kind of low cost or budget friendly ways to create that inclusive team culture, especially if you're working remotely? There's only so many pizza parties you can throw for everybody that's in one office. So, what do you recommend for people that maybe don't have a massive budget but are trying to make sure that their teams are feeling they're feeling inclusive, they're feeling like they are connected?
Yeah, I'm glad this is the segue because that was the topic that I paused talking about in the previous section. I mean, the obvious answer is virtual team building events, games, or whatnot. I think you need to sense the pulse of your team. Uh, you need to know that like sometimes playing games is not everyone's cup of tea. Uh, and it's not just about, I mean, of course, fun is important, team building is important, very important, but it's not just that. So when it comes to making inclusion low budget, budget friendly, or low cost budget friendly ways, um, I think I mean, one of the quick ways is rotating various kind of opportunities equitably around the team members. Then, be it if you're in meetings, then rotate the facilitator, rotate the note taker, or have someone lead the. I mean, have people lead the team who've never led it before. Also, another way of kind of doing this in a low cost friendly manner is try to have some sort of again checking with the pulse of your team. I try to have some sort of uh, weekly or bi-weekly activities such as design reviews or such as bring your own idea and brainstorm that idea within your team members or within your colleagues. So it gives everyone an equal opportunity, not just to the people who want to speak first. I think other part of the, well, imposter syndrome is a real thing, and I get it. I mean, it's petrifying sometimes. So I totally get it. And without having to put anyone on the spot, I think one of the things what helps me the most is uh, having these regular one-on-one conversations with my team members. So that kind of gets me a little closer to how they are thinking, or how comfortable they are being put on a spot in a meeting. If they are, I mean, then you get, again, checking the pulse of the team. Once you get that pulse in a team meeting setting, or in a budget friendly event, you may just nudge the person in the meeting and say, hey, okay, hey, so and so, I heard you had some thoughts about it. Why don't you share your brainstorming, your content in this? And sometimes people who are not comfortable, I quickly slide a Slack message to them and say, hey, I know you have good points here. Do you want to speak up? And it's up to them if they speak up. Your responsibility is to make sure you're including everyone. And that's how I look at it. So other fun things that we do here, especially within my team, is I'm a strong believer in recognition. So whenever I find an opportunity, there is a kudos channel that we have, there is a shout out channel, there are global team channels. So I make sure to give shout outs to all the members, the teams, whoever have worked on. And of course, there is this elastic inherently distributed brings a lot of cultures in. And the fact one gets higher in elastic is to enhance or encourage into that culture, not to just conform to it. So which means there are various cultural events that we could celebrate, and we do that by celebrating Diwali, which is an Indian festival of lights. We have done recipe sessions, we have done artwork, we have done stories, like people come in and they just tell their stories, so on and so forth. I mean, creativity is unlimited. But those are some low cost ways that I have tried to do things.
I love it. I think that's a great way to approach the situation. And you're right. I mean, like money gives you choices, right? Money makes things a little bit simpler, but it doesn't necessarily provide you with good options to approach these things. So I think that's wonderful. All right, Alexandra, I want to go to you next, because team engagement and that collaboration, especially across time zones, can be really difficult. What are some of your top tips for keeping those remote teams engaged and connected, especially if they are having to work asynchronous, if they're not in the same time zone?
Yep. So that's a really good question. One of the things that we've done in like support, I know Madhura said it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's more like actually having gaming sessions. So we're all engineers, and generally they like playing games, and often enough they actually have very similar tastes in games too. They're very different. As engineers, I can assure you, we have all sorts of cultures mixed in there, but they actually come together on similar types of games. And what we've noticed is that they will jump in and do gaming sessions, and we've set up two sets of sessions so that we can cover most of the regions. The games started within EMEA, so actually we have one which is APAC EMEA and one which is Americas EMEA. And we rotate those. So like 1 week it's one session, 1 week it's the other session, so that everybody has a chance to come in and play. And we try to do them at a time that works for all of those, for both those regions. Americas is a pretty big one, so we try to do it a bit more push towards the end of the EMEA day so that we can try and also grab in some of the West Coast Americas as well. So any of those early birds tend to jump in, have a game, and then start their actual day. Then we also have towards the end of the APAC day, we actually do the other session. And I have been in those sessions and they can be really fun. And I was not a real and proper gamer when I started out in Elastic, but I did find that they were really fun. Sadly, as a manager, time ran out, so I didn't actually manage to continue playing those. But every time I still have the meeting invite in my calendar, so I sometimes go, "Can I get on there?" Um, but it actually was really good because they got to know each other quite well. They got to see each other out of their own working environments. So that's something that we've done. We've done that also with a lot of other meetings as well. We tend to rotate them. So the big ones we will rotate. If we're working on projects together, cross-regional, we might actually have one session on one day that is later in the day so that we can actually work with the other time zone. And if we're working on all three of the regions, we will go earlier in the morning as well. So I've spent days where I was starting up at 7:30 in the morning in the winter to be able to grab my Australian colleagues and work on a project together with them. So, these are the types of things that we do tend to do to be able to actually have that, keep them engaged, keep them connected. We also have a lot of opportunities of doing like one-to-ones. We call them donut coffee mornings.
Yeah, yeah.
And we I participate a lot in that as well. I love it because I am now 4 years in the company. So I tend to be one of the veterans, and I get all the new hires in. So I get to have fun hearing how they're getting on, and they get to have fun hearing how I'm actually finding Elastic, what I like of it, what I would love to improve on it, or how we can collaborate, especially if it's because they're people from different functions within Elastic, and it's not generally my own same function. Um, it's really good because we can connect. We get that opportunity to discuss different areas. They get to know what I do, and I get to know what their jobs look like. And we sort of find those places that we can collaborate as well. Um, Other things that we actually have are like volunteer opportunities. Now we have loads of volunteer opportunities. They can be virtual, they can be local, actually. So if we do have in some areas real and proper clusters, as we call them, of employees, and they will work together, to go out and do a volunteer opportunity, which maybe gets them to learn a bit about themselves, work together, but they're doing something positive for others. And it really is a great feeling. But it's not just the locals, even the virtuals. There are even virtual ones. I personally have been involved on career discussions sessions with different organizations where I share what I do, how I got to that point, how I got to where I am. And often enough, I've been talked to like senior high school students who are getting ready to go into university. And it gives them that input of, there's a lot that you can do and still get into tech as well. So it really is a mix of employees. It's from the tech side, so like Madhura's teams, my team. It's from also, the HR and marketing. It really we bring together a lot of different employees to have these conversations, and it gives us a chance to get to know each other as well while we're doing them. Um, and then, as I mentioned quickly before, project work, getting the possibility to work cross-functionally together is an amazing opportunity. We get to do that cross-functionally, but also cross-regionally. So we get to work on different aspects, bringing our experience into those. And those really do help to create that connection and to feel engaged in what we're doing and how we're getting to improve our own day jobs often enough through that. So yeah, that's another way. When it's working multiple time zones, yeah, the best way is just to have different sessions that actually work nicely for the different regions that are involved as well. And so, yeah, that's a little bit how we go about it.
I love it. No, thank you for kind of telling us a little bit about how the donuts are made. I think it is really important, not only to see like how this works in other companies, but especially if you have never worked asynchronously or if you've never worked remote distributed before. That was me when I first started for Power to Fly. I had worked remote. I had worked for like, companies that were located across the country, but I had never worked with an international company. I'd never worked with anybody asynchronously. And so it was scary at first, but then it was like, oh, well, this isn't that bad. And then I started working with other companies like Elastic. So then I could see how y'all do it. And that was really cool for me because it was like I had never known that this type of work was even possible. And now I'm seeing four different ways for it to work on a daily basis. So I think that's really great. Let's see here. Okay, we did have a question from the chat, and this one kind of goes into something that we were talking about earlier. But how do you handle like resistance or pushback from people when you're introducing new inclusion initiatives? The person that asked about this one said, how to engage the introverts? Mostly their response will be that like a one word of like, yeah, I don't really want to, when they're engaged to do something. Alexandra, you're giggling, so I'm gonna go to you first, but Madhura, then I want to talk to you. What do y'all do if you have somebody on your team? Not to say that the introverts always do this, okay? Sometimes we're fine, but if you have somebody on your team that pushes back, what have you done in the past? Is there anything that comes to mind of somebody that you've had to like kind of accommodate, or what comes to mind when I ask you about kind of pushback when it comes to these inclusion initiatives?
So when it comes to pushback, I generally will reach out on a one-to-one mode just to understand where the pushback's coming from, to understand why they don't feel comfortable, and to encourage them in particular to actually get their voice heard so that even they have the opportunity to um, provide their feedback. I've also been very direct. So in one of my projects, I had an introvert who didn't quite push back, but would answer in one word situations. And what we were doing was working on a project altogether. So what I've always done is during my projects, when I'm actually working live with them, I would go into having discussions. Obviously, the extroverts would take up most of the space. I would sort of pause them at some point and go, "Hey, what about you? What's your thoughts about this? What do you agree with them? Do you think there's other opportunities? I'd love to hear your voice and hear what you have to say about that." I have to say, with this one particular engineer who did this to me at the beginning, um, it was really short answers. There was also a language barrier there, I actually realized, so I had to slow down my own level of talking. Because I am a mother tongue, so I do admit to that. Sometimes I go too fast. And he he has actually flourished over the 2, 3 years that we've worked together. And I really love the fact that he nowadays will chip in without me pulling him in. So
That's a
I
fun moment. That's exciting.
yeah. And what I did was really, I would put him on the spot for a while. Every so often, I'd let them talk, the extroverts talk, and then all of a sudden, I'd put him on the spot and say, "Okay, I'd love to hear your thoughts." Or I'd just go around the group and go, "Okay, so what do you have? What do you think about this?" And then I'd go to the next one. "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" Until I'd heard from everybody about whatever we were discussing about in those meetings. Um, but yeah, now I'm really, really pleased because he really does speak up on his own and rarely with me having to ask him to actually speak up. And they all do it now. So they know that they're going to get put on the spot. So they just do it themselves.
Well, and I appreciate that because you're not doing it in a way that is, well, I want you to speak. It's like, no, you're not trying to make somebody do something they don't want to do. You're trying to give them the opportunity to share these things within a team. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's I'm spending a lot of time with a 3-year-old and trying to explain why we do things like manners. And it's like some things we just do them because they make other people feel good, but other things like this is because like that's going to be valuable for that person to then be able to, like show off in meetings that they actually know what's going on. If they have something that they really want to say, they're not going to feel hamstrung and feel stuck. There we go with all the idioms again, see? But like they're not going to feel like they don't know what to do or they don't have a course of action. They'll know what to do, even if it's difficult or even if it's something that is maybe not a way they would prefer to approach things. So yeah, I think that's wonderful. Madhura, how do you see this when you are trying to work with team members who maybe don't want to be engaged, or who are a little bit hesitant to participate? Have you had similar results to things that Alexandra has tried?
I think more or less similar. By the way, what a success story! Yeah, it's exciting. Um, when you're trying to introduce something new, it's a new inclusion initiative, let's say. The pushback is not to you, the pushback is to the change, or pushback is to the assumption of overhead that's going to come with that initiative change. So the onus is on you. If I'm bringing a new inclusion initiative, it's upon me to make sure I am bringing in enough context. I am bringing in uh, enough examples around it. Also, whatever decision, if it's an inclusion initiative, so the decisions, of course, cannot be taken in silo. That's exactly contradictory to what we're trying to do. So it should be something like an iterative process where you're not only including introverts, extroverts, making them talk to each other, you're facilitating the conversation, but at the same time, you're carefully listening to the feedback. And the intention overall is to make the process or the initiative successful. And if that happens by the virtue of people talking to each other, brainstorming, always be open to feedback, solicit feedback, and get that idea, and then incorporate that into the initiative. That, of course, make having into what Alexandra says, having given this opportunity to introverts or people who generally don't raise their hands, they will feel included in the meeting, but also when their feedback is heard and incorporated, they feel acknowledged. They feel, okay, what I said actually was okay, so I should speak up next time as well. I think that probably that's the part I would add on top of that.
We do have a chat or a comment in the chat, which I really appreciate from Trisha. saying one thing that I've not heard shared, but maybe I missed it, is a step to take to grow teams together is to keep a team like a Slack or other chat open during work hours amongst team members and encouraging them to post or ask questions to each other and answer them before the manager jumps in and answers. You can also fight the default of the manager being the first or only responder. I very much appreciate this because it does kind of lend itself a little bit more to like, hey, I have a question. Can anybody answer this? It's a little less, I mean, it doesn't have to be asynchronous, right? But it's a little less like right now, I need an answer right now. So I think that's really a good way to do it. Alexandra, have you ever seen this done?
We do that constantly. That's actually a daily thing that we do. As support engineers, we have a team of engineers getting cases from customers needing to solve their problems. And on a daily basis, they are going to find something that they don't know. So what they do is we have a team channel. They will drop the question in there, and generally, I'm the last one to actually look at the questions. I have told my lead and I have told all of the seniors that I expect them to be the ones answering. And it's actually a growth path that I use for all of my engineers. So anybody who says to me that, well, I'm looking to go into more of a senior role, I'd like to increase or grow to the next level, that's the first thing I tell them. There's a lot of questions there in the team channel. Go answer them. I've had pushback in the sense of they've said to me, "Oh, yes, but I see that somebody else gets to them first." And I'm like, "Well, add your thoughts. Maybe you have a slightly different perspective that works. Why not?" So add your thoughts in there. But yeah, I see that on a daily basis. And you're right, Trisha. I did not mention that, but it is something that we do daily, and it works great to actually build that collaboration and that trust between the team members because they get to see each other's capabilities and they actually really appreciate that, all that help.
More often than not, that may be a question that everyone has, but you are the brave one to ask it. So the answers are definitely going to benefit multiple people, not just you. So that is very highly encouraged at Elastic. Ask questions in public forums, not just our Slack groups that are within Elastic, but on community channels or on Discuss forums as well. We highly encourage our engineers to go speak to users on Discuss forums. And you're right, that plays a key part in bringing yourself up to speed as well as from a career growth point of view.
Yeah, of course. All right, so it's 12:40. We've got about 20 minutes left in today's event. I told you it always goes very fast. So if y'all have questions, please feel free to ask them. I've gathered every question that has been asked, regardless of whether we'll have time for it or not. So we're still trying to go through all the questions asked. But if you've got them, ask now, okay? Ask early, ask often. Let's see here. All right, let's kind of move into leveraging inclusion for innovation. I think one of the things that is massively, a bonus to having, worldwide distributed teams is that you have this opportunity to have so much innovation happen because you have people that have never been in the same room or never been on the same problem before. You're putting in new combinations that might yield different results. In what ways has focus on inclusion led to more innovative outcomes within your remote teams? Alexandra, you want to start us here?
Sure. So, one thing I'd like to underline about inclusion is often enough, inclusion considers the difference between man, woman, or definition based on the color of your skin and your heritage. Um, in reality, that's not the only thing that is important with inclusion. Inclusion also can be related to different character types. So you may have people who think and act in different ways. And that is, when you're able to create a group of diverse people coming from different cultural backgrounds, different thought processes, different characteristics themselves, and you bring them together to work on projects or activities together, you can get some of the most amazing discussions happen there. So that's where I actually consider that inclusion, that's where I come from with inclusion nowadays. Um, as you introduced me, Meg, I have been a leader to one of our ERGs, the Women of Elastic, and over the years, I've actually realized that that was the power of inclusion, um, where for me it's not just how many different you know types of people we have, but it's also the characteristics that they bring in. And that is something I work on to build. Literally, you start to get ideas flowing. They may even contradict one another, but they help us to find a solution that really is more aligned with the needs of everyone rather than one or another group of people or characteristics. And that's where the real innovation actually comes in for me.
I like this. Madhura, do you have thoughts on this? Are there like have you experienced anything different?
I think not different, but she put it so beautifully. It that totally resonates with me. A slight thing that I might add is, I think when there is diversity, there is inclusion, there is a level of psychological safety that gets created because the voices are now being heard, they are being respected, they are being acknowledged, they are being implemented. And this psychological safety, even if it is created in a couple of individuals' head, that in turn creates solutions that are potentially more risk taking and hence more enterprise. So you come to an enterprise quality solution in probably a shorter time span, I mean, considering all the cerebral diversity as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. We did have somebody that wrote in a question that goes well with this. This person says, I tend to be more observant and reflective. How can I ensure that my silence isn't misinterpreted as disengagement in a remote team setting? And what systems are in place to support different communication styles? Alexandra, this kind of reminds me earlier of when you were talking about some of your more introverted team members. But what comes to mind, when you think about supporting different communication styles in this virtual environment?
So I actually understand where that person comes from. I'm not quite sure who asked the question, because I have been the observant one myself in the past. And so, literally, the bit of advice there is if you are the observant one, just position the questions that you really need to position, or position your thoughts that you really need to position, um, based on what you've observed, based on what you've been listening to. Um, take all of that in and then, give your thought process to it as well. Um, bring that in. So get to the point where you feel comfortable to actually say that what your conclusions are, um, after having observed everybody, and use those observing capabilities to actually get to know how to communicate with the different people that you're interacting with. That's also a very important part, and being able to communicate with them based on how they communicate will help you to actually be able to give that feedback, or give your thoughts in a way that they can accept it too. That is a really big pro to being observant. You can actually reach out to them at their level in their in the way that works for them, because that's what you've been observing. You may have a different way of saying things, but it doesn't mean that you can't communicate with them.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. And thank you, y'all. Keep those questions coming. These are great, great questions. All right, let's see here. Okay. How do you encourage team members to share these different perspectives and ideas? So let's say you've got somebody who has a perspective or has an idea that maybe they don't think is going to be real, like well received. How do you encourage people to share those, especially if they have those self-doubts? Because like we talked about, imposter syndrome is a very real thing. It strikes, it does not care who you are. It might be with you one day and gone for 6 months and back the next, like right before your presentation is due or whatever. So how do you handle this?
I can take a stab at that. Um, it is, I think what if we turn that situation a little bit, um, having imposter syndrome is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a protection mechanism. It is a matter of getting over it in the second, and then trying to speak or articulate your thoughts, like Alexandra said. um, the best part is we have a team, and when we have a team, there are, more often than not, there are multiple other people who are probably thinking in a similar fashion. So the way I try to encourage it is, I try to make it a team activity. For example, at Elastic, we have a concept of on week, which is basically we dedicate a week for innovation. Of course, innovation has to be driven. You have to feel for it. But many a times, even if I have an idea, I have a concept, and I want to make a POC out of it, but hey, am I the only one doing the POC while all of my coworkers are working on the product deliverable stuff? Then am I missing out on them? And then am I not helping the product? Those are all the self thought questions that generally arise in my head. And that actually came to my notice because I solicited feedback from my team members that, hey, why are we not leveraging this on week concept so much? And they said, if I'm doing it, then somebody else has to take the brunt of my work. Then we made it a team thing, a global team thing, where everyone now pitches in their idea and everyone picks up projects and work on them. Now, as a facilitator, what I can do is I can simultaneously share, the way I encourage it is share company goals, iterate over them, try to find connection between their idea and the company goals. I mean, all of this in order to make sure that potentially their idea could be productized. So, which means they are almost acting like a startup entrepreneur, where they have created a concept and that concept has now gotten productized. So I try to uh, I try to encourage it from a team perspective. And I think that's, I mean, there are other ways to do that, but this has worked most in my favor.
Okay, I'm loving these answers. All right, we've got about 10 minutes left in today's event. So we can probably get to a couple more questions. I do have one question I wanted to get to from the chat, and then we're going to go back to some of the pre-submitted ones. But this person had said, how do you overcome proximity bias and address resistance from managers who don't see value in making their engagement efforts inclusive? So this person's describing a situation where they have the remote team is not the entirety of the team. This person says, where does it go? Oh, there we go. For example, we're having an on-site pizza party to appreciate the team, but we aren't offering a remote option for employees who aren't local. While my organization's philosophy is to treat remote or distributed work as just another modality, some managers still view remote work as a benefit that makes it okay to exclude employees in other ways. I'm very interested in this because since the time I started working remotely, I have only had remote team members. Like we have like a group of people that live in Buenos Aires, but they don't live together. They don't work together. It's just people that happen to live in the same city. So as people who probably have a little bit more of both, a remote team as well as people that they work more closely with, how have y'all seen this play out? Obviously, it's not okay to say like, well, you work from home, so you don't deserve a pizza party. But as you are trying to make sure that managers understand the psychology of these modalities, what is some way that y'all make sure that in-person team members are treated as equitably as our remote team members? Madhura, do you want to start us?
Yeah, it's a great question actually, and whoever asked that kind of mentality is correct, where people do think that, oh, you're working remotely, so you can take breaks whenever you want. I would argue otherwise, but because then there is no end to your work, right? Unless you put a discipline to it.
There it is.
Right? So it's more, I think part of it, I mean, in a very practical terms, I can say Elastic does it very well, by the way. So we have an engineering all hands that is ironical, that is happening next week. So where am I? So engineering all hands is a place where all the engineers meet and then we have fun. Some product fun, some team fun, but there are some engineers who are not able to fly for whatever reasons. Elastic makes sure to give them an opportunity to celebrate with us by submitting them a link to opt opt swags from. So there are a lot of cool Elastic swags, and there are some subscriptions sometimes that can benefit, just to make sure they are included. They have chosen not to come. Maybe it's because of visa issues. It's for no fault of theirs, right? So which means, I generally follow a similar notion, and that's instilled into me because of Elastic's culture, where if I have team members, if I have a gathering in San Francisco, which is closer to my area, and I have team members coming, then I make sure we have various ways of rewarding people monetarily. So I make sure I'm doing that for the rest of the team who is not able to join me. So that's one thing I have. It's again instilled in me through Elastic.
I love that. I think it's great. And you're right. I mean, there's just different ways to look at this. Some companies do see it as a benefit. I have my own personal opinions about those companies that I will not share today, but I think a lot of people also have opinions. So, it really just becomes one of those things of like, well, that's maybe not how I work best or not the kind of mindset of the company I'd like to work for. I also 100% like see through transparent, y'all. That is a very resource position to be able to say. So, fully aware of that. Um, okay, let's talk about some of the support. How do you think someone can set themselves up for success if they are joining a remote first team, especially if they've never done it before? What are some of the ways that somebody can be like, okay, this is what I'm starting. How do I get off on the right foot? Let's see, who do you want to talk to about this one? Madhura, do you want to talk? Do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, sure. I think Alexandra, you might please chime in when you have some thoughts. I, I will. I think most important thing for a person who's joining remote first team in with respect to career growth, success, and support is the proactiveness and responsibility, followed by clear expectation settings. We kind of touched upon that in the previous question. Setting your own boundaries, setting your own discipline to work remotely is very, very important. You have to create your own structure and make sure you're communicating that structure with your team. Uh, Working remotely does not mean you need to be available 24/7. It is humanly not possible. So you it is absolutely okay to take breaks whenever you want. It's not how much time you sit in front of the computer will make you more productive. It is how much you are sitting in front of computer with full attention is what will make you more productive. So calendars are great tools. Leverage them as much as you can. I do, and I have a block in the afternoon, pick up kids. Schools are not going to wait for me to finish my meeting. They are going to let my kids out of the school and I have to go pick them. So that is a block. If there is a meeting that has to be done during that time, I request to record it. And people are generally, they all understand these nuances, and these meetings do get recorded. And now now with ChatGPT I get a summary as well, so it's I don't have to spend too much time reading about it. I think in terms of career specifically, again, another thing Elastic has instilled into us is your career is your responsibility. Don't wait for your manager to start thinking about your career. You define how your career want to be and make sure you make your manager an ally, and then they are able to work together with you to achieve those expectations and potentially a career growth path. I think those are
Yeah,
the couple of things.
I really appreciate that inclusion because you're right. You are the person that's going to care most about your career ever, and that's okay. That's how it should be. But yeah, I very much appreciate that. You can't leave this in the hands of other people, but you're not on your own. You absolutely have backing. You have people supporting you and wanting to see you succeed. Let's see here. In the last like 4 minutes we've got, let's see. Okay, I want to know from both of you. I'm going to ask both of you this one. I want to know what's the most rewarding part about working at Elastic for you in a remote capacity. Because for me, I know what I get out of Power to Fly, but I also know what I'm looking for. So for each of you, what is the most rewarding part of working for Elastic in a remote capacity? Alexandra, do you want to start us and we'll go to Madhura last?
Yeah, sure. So let me see. I think one of the best parts of working within Elastic and in this distributed mode is that I get to talk to so many different people, different cultures, different environments, different backgrounds, and I get to learn a lot about the different environments that they've grown up in, that they've had their career growths in, and it really shapes every single one of them. So hearing about those, getting the opportunity to have that connection in with them is amazing. Add to it that Elastic is in a great growth spurt as well. Um, the engineering team constantly changes their structure, which is always fun to keep up with. And in support, we're constantly changing, we're constantly adding new bits, new functionalities, new requirements for our support engineers. So that is like one of the favorite parts of growth spurts that I have within any of these companies that are going from small to mid to enterprise mode. If I have to say it, I love that particular part of growth because it is constantly changing. It is constantly moving forward. There's something new to learn every single day, and that's what I really appreciate and love of Elastic as well.
Love it. Madhura, how about you? What's the most like valuable part for you of working at Elastic remotely?
I would actually say ditto to Alexandra, what she said. Most, I mean, of course, there is flexibility. I can have family time. I can go on a self-learning spree at any time. That in turns boosts my confidence because now I know more things. I can attend events here and there. These are small perks, but the most rewarding for me is definitely I get an opportunity to learn about so many cultures, so many different human beings very organically, and all of that while innovating into the latest and greatest technology that I want to grow in. I mean, I think that's that is the most rewarding thing for me.
Heck yes. No, I mean it's very easy to see. It's wonderful. And honestly, I've gotten to work with the Elastic team. Geez, I joined Power to Fly in 2019 and y'all were already Elastic, like Elastic was already onboarded with Power to Fly. So I've gotten a chance to talk with elasticians for years. And that is a very, very consistent through line that I hear from y'all is that not only is the work important and challenging, but that the people that you do it with are just as rewarding. And I think that's wonderful. Okay, this is going to bring us to the end of time today, but Alexandra and Medora, thank you both so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us today. It's been wonderful to get to know you and learn some more about you and how the teams at Elastic work. So thank you to both of you for taking the time, both prep work as well as today. We very much appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Meg. This was a great opportunity. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
ditto.
you.
Thank you very much.
All right, y'all. Now now it's my turn to kind of turn to the rest of the audience and encourage y'all and thank y'all for coming out today. Now, obviously, I love that you come to these events because it means I have a job. However, I love even more that you come to these events because you just took 60 minutes out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career. Okay, that is not easy. It is not simple. Nobody rewards you for it. So whether you are a little treat person or not, listen to Meg, okay? Give yourself the gold star, cookie, coffee drink, maybe not Starbucks is all I'm saying, but like just do it. Treat yourself because you just went through 60 minutes to try and improve your life and improve your career. And again, it's a very thankless position. Now, in the last minute, because sorry, I know we are at time, but in the last minute I have you, I do want to encourage y'all to check out Elastic. Now, obviously, we've said a lot of great things about Elastic. I really encourage you to take a look at this company, learn more about who they are. There's some great insights and stuff that you can get from their company page on powertofly.com. There's also some amazing resources, really good stuff in case you think you might be going into a job interview with Elastic. It's a good place to do a research on the company that might not have been seen by everybody else that's all over LinkedIn. So just as a heads up, it could be a good option there. The other thing I want to highlight is this big pink button that says follow. Okay. You're going to find that at the top of every company page on powertofly.com as long as you're logged in. If you're not logged in, that's why you're not seeing it. But if you smash that follow button, it's going to do some great things for you. But basically what it does is it allows Power to Fly, hi, to tell Elastic that you're interested in working with them even before you fill out a job application. And it allows us to take the weight off of you in your job search because we will tell you when Elastic posts new roles. Now you can follow and unfollow as many companies as you want, as many times as you want on powertofly.com, but obviously I recommend you take a look at Elastic. They're pretty special people. It's a really cool group. And I think you're going to like what you find out. So now that is going to be it for my shtick today. But whether today was your first Power to Fly event or your 50th, I sincerely hope it will not be your last, y'all. I really hope that we get to see you again sooner rather than later. Now, for the rest of today, go out and have the day y'all voted for. And, maybe try and make somebody else's day a little bit better today, even in small ways. It'll make you feel a lot better about yours. That's it for us today. Super excited to see y'all back here sooner rather than later. Bye.